Welcome to your weekly Social Jack Influence Factory. Introducing your coaches, Dean Delisle, Kate Hassett, and Jackson Delisle.
Hey, everybody, what's happening?
Hey.
Welcome. All right, there we go. So welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Influence Factory. It's great to have you on with us. And we are having another amazing guest on with us today. And we always love when we have our amazing guests. So welcome to everybody else that's joining us. I see a lot of people in here that are old friends and some new people on with us today. A shout out to Mike O'Neill, who's been a guest on the program. Shout out to Jimmy Z, who's been a guest on the program. I'm seeing all kinds of other people popping in here. So good to see you and good to have you in here. And Mike, it's good to hear you are still hitting those concerts, man. Always good to see that. So, Kate, how you doing today? Got to unmute.
I'm good. How are you?
All right.
I was wondering why you didn't answer me earlier. I thought you were just ignoring me.
Yeah, Jimmy Z said he loves your smile, Kate. So don't stop smiling.
Thanks, Jimmy Z.
Right. So, all right, cool. So, anyway, if people want to join you on social, where the heck do they go?
Yeah, so we're on all social media on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. But if you want, and LinkedIn. But if you want to catch Influence Factory updates, check out Twitter. Follow the hashtag Influence Factory, and then of course you can follow us at Get Social Jack. So we'll be there.
Woot. And Jackson, how you doing today with all those buttons and lights and controls back there? Everything working okay?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. These are props. So, yeah.
All right. So good. And if people want to, after the program, tune in, where can they find this amazing podcast posted at?
You can find it in the Resource Center on Social Jack. That is at app.socialjack.com. The show notes are already uploaded, but we will be updating them after the webcast. So make sure to check that out around 2 p.m. Central is when everything is updated and in the system. So make sure to check back around then. And you can also find it on YouTube, will be the recording, as well as the podcast will be on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, and SoundCloud.
Yeah, there you go, man. You got that down. I couldn't even memorize that. So if you, and just to let you know, for those of you that are new, if you go to socialjack.com, and you click on login, you just click on login. We have opened it up so you can actually get to see the login without logging in. So that means you can get a tour of a lot of the shows and programs and show notes and downloads so that you can enjoy some of the things. And then we hopefully that encourages you to become a member of our community and keep joining us. So as Kate and Jackson will attest to, we are committed to building the influence of each and every one of you. So our goal is to make sure that when you leave here, you actually have some clear takeaways from our guests and from our 60-second lessons, from our news. There's something that's going to resonate with you that will make you a better influencer in the world. And as you know, we specialize in micro-influencers. So while we have worked with a lot of mega influencers, we are focused on the people that have 10,000 and under followers that are business influencers. And that's each and every one of you now. And our goal is to make you better influencers today and tomorrow. You agree with that, Kate?
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right on. Okay, so take notes. Make sure you have something with you that you can take notes and close any distractions, and we're going to keep rocking here. So don't forget that if you have audio issues, it's simple. You just click on the phone call. It'll pop up a telephone number and an access code, and then you can rock and roll from there. And you can also download the mobile app for GoToWebinar. And you can ask us anything throughout the class or the program, either through Twitter or here. And there's engagement prizes, so make sure you engage with us. So, Kate, what is our social question of the week?
Okay, so I was thinking a lot about movies because I think we've talked about it multiple times, like what's your favorite movie, things like that. But I think what people don't talk about enough is sequels. So what is the worst sequel to a movie that you've ever seen, or what sequel
my
killed your
gosh.
favorite movie?
Dumb and Dumber 2.
That was a bad one.
Jim, that was what I was going to say.
That was really bad.
I know. Type it into the chat now, folks. Start engaging with us. What
Yes.
is the worst? What is the worst? Mike O'Neill.
For all the girls out there who might know, one of my least favorites is Grease 2. That one killed it. And then also Weekend at Bernie's 2 was like really, really bad.
Yeah. So what's the
I don't-
worst sequel?
don't
Saturday
think
Night
I've-
Fever.
I don't think I've seen what did you say, Kate? Which
Grease?
two?
Grease 2.
No, I've seen
Oh,
Grease
Weekend
2.
at Bernie's 2.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the second one.
It was bad.
So yeah.
Yeah, Julie agreed. Grease. That was a
Yeah.
really bad one.
Yeah, it's bad. So, all right. So
think it's
far we
funny.
have Jimmy Z, Mike on the board, Julie on the board. Where's everybody else at? Come on, engage with us. This, the success to your influence is engagement. We tell you this every week. So make sure you chime in and engage. We also want you to win. So, all right, let's keep rocking here. So as Jackson said, make sure you log in. There's plenty of goodies in here. There's access to classes. A lot of you know we've updated our influencer classes, our influencer materials. Many of you are going to be at our workshop tomorrow that is completely sold out. We actually overbooked it. So it's overbooked, and that's a good thing. We're fitting people in. So anyway, it's super cool. And again, remember, watch your inbox for messages as a member. So now you can actually get in, and you will get messages about that. So anyway. Julie, we'll hit you right after this. It's a TBD, so I'll have to let you know. So now, oh yes, this is the one. So now what you can do is go to the page. If you go to the actual website and you click on to get on the waiting list, make sure you get on the waiting list. We're going to leave it open for 48 hours so that if a spot does open up, or you want to get on the waiting list for 2019, because we're already pre-selling the winter class after the first of the year. So make sure you get in one way or the other and get on the waiting list. Yes, starting time is at noon. And it's we're having Lou Malnati's pizza. Kate, food ordered, beer and wine, all that stuff.
Booze is on its way. I just got the text message, so
It's
be a
coming.
party.
That could be trouble. All right. We have people flying in from all over. We have influencers. We have one of the actors from All My Children is going to be in there. It's like crazy, and he wants to build his business because he has plenty of acting, and his agents coming in, and then we have J-Lo's people coming in. It's like crazy. So we have a mashup of business people and Hollywood, and it's a crazy thing. It's going to be a fun one for sure. Yeah, I can't say we've ever had a bunch of people in there with over 100,000 people on Instagram that now all of a sudden want to figure out LinkedIn. I think that's pretty cool. That's telling you how the world is working. So
it's very cool.
Super duper cool. Also, everybody listen up. We want to make sure you help us with this. Write down www.womenbusinessownersunite.com. One of our very dear clients, Laura Stees, is amazing. You guys, if you ever have a chance to talk with her, she is hilarious. She is thoughtful. She is genuine and authentic. And she is rocking and rolling. She is having 3 steps leaders need to achieve true success, connection, and purpose and wealth with Laura Stees. Can you help pass this on to any women business leaders that you know? WomenBusinessOwnersUnite.com. We'd love to have that. And if you could just post it on social media, it is going to help so many women. So Julie and all my women out there, could you please help us pass the word on this? Just say yes. Okay, I knew you would.
And also, it's National Women's Small Business Month.
Yes.
So it's a great time to be celebrating women-owned businesses, specifically small women-owned businesses. And Laura's one of my mentors. She's super great. So if you know of anybody who could learn from this webinar, pass it on.
Yeah, Miriam, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. And men, please help out too. You all know Women in Business.
Mhm.
This is a great program. This is an opportunity. It's free. Just jump in on it. It's next Thursday already. Geez, that's coming up quick.
Yep.
So please help us out with that. We appreciate it. All right, now we have some news. Jackson,
Yes, we do. So
you got a whole 3 minutes today. You can have it.
I know. So this is gonna be super quick. LinkedIn updates their feed algorithm so that users will get more engagement level. So I think this is super cool because I hear of a lot of people that do not post frequently on LinkedIn because they don't get that much engagement. They feel like it is a very closed off, it's not as social as some of the other ones where you're getting 50, 60 likes on a post on Facebook. You could share a blog post and get maybe like 6 likes. So statistics have shown that if you were to get people who get 10 or more likes on a post, they're 17% more likely to post the following week. Just something else. And, it's that engagement that keeps them coming back. But if people aren't getting engagement, then they don't come back. There's that disconnect. So what they did was they updated their algorithm to almost spread the wealth evenly, as opposed to what they were doing, which was making top content producers the pop
Priority.
right to the top. Yeah, the priority, topping right to the top of your feed. So now they're trying to spread the wealth. That way they're sharing more of your content out there as well, and not just favoring these top content producers.
So Mike O'Neill's on with us today, and so him and I are both probably saying, yes, we'll believe it when we see it. So we're going to count on it. We will not count on it, but we will hope for it. Yeah, he chimed in. He goes, yep.
Can I make another comment, though? If nobody's engaging with your stuff on LinkedIn, that probably means your network's wrong, and you've been adding your friends and your friends' parents and your friends' kids as opposed to like-minded individuals who you should be networking with. So probably you're not social teaming correctly, and you're probably not really using LinkedIn the right way. So that's just another LinkedIn tip.
Yeah, remember, Google social teaming and download all the stuff that you find. We've been publishing for almost 10 years on this. And that means that you need, yeah.
Or Mike said just accepting and not inviting. That's also
yes.
That's also part of it. So we're building our ideal team on LinkedIn, not just adding people that we know.
Yeah, it's not a collection of souls. So
absolutely.
Well, that's all for this article, and you can find that in the Resource Center on Social Jack. So make sure to check that out after the broadcast ends. This next article is very cool. So Facebook's been doing a lot of things this year. We talk about it from week to week. Now they have launched a new dashboard, which they are calling their attribution dashboard, which is going to, help provide more in-depth data based on how your ads are performing, as well as how your Facebook presence in general is going to be. All the different aspects that make up your Facebook presence will be documented more clearly and more accurately. So it's going to, dive in a little bit deeper. And I think the coolest thing, because we're running out of time on this, and again, you can find this and all the materials that we discuss in the Resource Center on Social Jack. But the coolest thing is that it'll give you this right here on the screen. It says user device statistics. So it'll tell you things like, the example they use is 63% of conversions on mobile happened after people interacted with your ad on their desktop. So they had viewed it on the desktop, and then they went back and saw it again on mobile and clicked it, and that's when they converted. 63% of those were they had already looked at it once.
Yeah, so, and there's a lot of new things that we're learning on some current campaigns within Facebook. So it's super huge to make sure you stay up to date on this stuff. They're constantly changing. It looks like they're getting much better. the challenge is when you're running a campaign, just hear this part. This is a huge lesson for everybody, is that don't expect to flip it on like a promoted post and it's going to go. There's now learning methods. There's a learning time. And sometimes it could take up to 2 weeks for a campaign to learn and perform properly. But once it learns, it's going to rock. So we do a lot of event marketing, and we've been learning that you've got to like start way ahead of the event. And sometimes we get last minute rushes, right, Kate? I know you love those, Jackson. So we get last minute rushes.
Call me out.
No, I know we all get them. It's like crazy, man. It's like we got 8 days. We got to fill this event. So anyway, we don't want you to be caught in that with the rest of us. But thank you, Jackson, for the news.
Yes.
Not a problem.
We're gonna move along here, and then I'm gonna put up the waiting list poll here in case you guys want to jump on any of these waiting lists for upcoming classes and programs. And then we're gonna do a 60-second lesson here, and then get our guest on. So go ahead and click on any of those classes that you want to be on the waiting list. Obviously, no obligation. We just contact you first. So we've often given you access to our 20-minute-a-day program. The methodology, for those of you that are new to our community, is that for every 5 minutes of social media engagement and activity, like you've been typing in here into our chat and our questions, is that you should either generate 2 referrals or 1 solid appointment. So this is a proven system that we have. You guys have access to this program. We're going to go ahead and bring up on the screen here. There's a worksheet that you can download. It is called the Social Jack Professional Game Plan. Please make sure that you follow this. These power moves work. Sometimes take only 2 minutes of activity. The more efficient you get, the faster they work. Right, Kate? You've taught this. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
So we've been running this program for over 10 years, and we're pleased to say that the entire team here has worked their butt off to now, as of yesterday, we just launched in Malaysia and Singapore, and we will be on the ground there in January training on our courses for both influencer development and social selling. So please take advantage of that. And if you need some, I'm going to give a plug here for my buddy Mike O'Neill. If you need navigator assistance, please look up Mike O'Neill on that as well. So real quick, we have, not real quick, but oh my gosh, can you believe we have Chris Rudolph on today? He is amazing. Chris, come on down.
We finally buttoned him down.
I know. He's such a busy guy, man. He's live from Madison, and husband, father of 3 kiddos, one who has a famous cooking show, all under 9 years old, so that keeps him a little busy. I know he's not a fan of winter. He finds reasons to go to Mexico better than I can. And he was working with the Chicago Bulls, which is pretty cool. I'm going to ask a few questions about that. He loves to binge watch a few things, and then he's learned everything he knows about webcasts from me. Oh, thank you, man. So welcome.
Hey, it's great to be on, Dean.
Yeah. And man, this is like been a year in the making, right? It's just trying to get schedules to fit and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to be here on the Influence Factory.
Yeah, thanks. And you and I, man, I was trying to go back, and you took over some of the work at Dream Bank. How long ago?
Yeah, I think about 5 years ago.
5 years ago, and that was after we had been running the program for about a year or 2 years, and so man, you and I spent a lot of time together producing a lot of programs there, and then I knew you always had this business on the side, and then you made a transition to just go for it. So can you just walk us through that? Because there are a lot of listeners that I'm sure in that, like, they got 1 foot on this side, 1 foot on this side, and then you made that choice to put both feet and just run at it. So can you take us through that for a minute?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So for about 4 years, I was working for American Family Insurance, and I really enjoyed what I did. I helped put on marketing events and webcasts, had a chance to collaborate with Dean and his team quite a bit. So I wasn't in the camp of where a lot of people are, where they absolutely hate their day job and they're dreaming and planning about doing something else. It's something I actually really enjoyed, and met amazing people and learned a lot of great skills. So I actually started my business on the side about 4 years ago. So I'm a business coach for digital marketing speakers and consultants, and I really help them, those who are struggling with hustling around the clock or not getting the pay that they really want. I help them get to 6 figures, a really solid 6-figure income, and spend more time with their family. a lot of people think they either have to choose one or the other, but I don't believe that. And I think if you're strategic and you prioritize and you really set things up, you can have both.
Okay. Do you ever interview their family and make sure their family wants more time with them?
Not yet, but that's probably a good question to ask.
Because there'd be times when I was coaching and I was at home a lot, and then Holly's like, "Don't you have a business trip? We're getting a little too much, Dad." So it was just funny. We always have that conversation. And Jackson, I'm sure, is shaking his head in the other room. So, so yeah, there he goes. He's giving me the thumbs up through the window. So the idea here is to make sure that it's really going for what you want, right? So it's almost, I call it life by design, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think when many people start out and they have a business idea or they start their business, many of them don't start a business just to start a business, or a lot of people don't want to, start the next Facebook, something that really scales up and becomes a huge thing that they eventually sell. They really, what I found as I talk to, especially people in digital marketing and marketing, is they really started for the freedom. Many of them came from, big corporate backgrounds or big agencies, and, they like parts of it, but they really started it for the freedom. So I really help them, really see that come to fruition.
Yeah. And when somebody makes that transitionary step, how often do you have them revisit the benchmarks? Like, okay, this is where I want to go today, but like where, how often should you revisit that? Because we know that life changes, right? So life shows up.
Yeah, I really suggest scheduling a quarterly offsite. And what that is, it's kind of like a 1 day away where you can take time to, just rest and reflect. And how has the last 90 days been going, and take a look at, I'm really big on creating like ideal life and ideal business documentation, like really documenting that, going back to those things, and just see how things are going, and then make changes, or I call them like recalibrate. Just because there's a lot of responsibilities, especially if you are a parent and you have other people that you're responsible for, and their lives as well. It's easy to get off track. What can start out to be some really great opportunities can become too much. It's really, business is unpredictable. There's a lot of different cycles with it. So what I found is if every 90 days you're getting a way to reflect and you recalibrate and rest a little bit, that really keeps people on track.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
I like that idea of going offsite. I think that's interesting because a lot of digital marketers, especially probably the ones you're working with, work from home. So I think that's a difficult thing to I know I'm so bad at working from home. I can't speak for everybody, but I am not productive. I can't separate the two worlds when I'm at home. So I think getting out of your element and going somewhere else to reflect, I really like that tip. How did you come up with that? Is that something that you've used yourself, or is there a reason behind that advice?
Yeah, actually, that was recommended over 10 years ago when I had a mentor, actually a pastor of mine that recommended that. But I've seen that too over the years. A thought leader that I really follow is Greg McKeown. He's the author of Essentialism, one of my favorite books. He really, I think, termed that phrase quarterly offsite, and I'm just a super big fan, especially, I work with people in digital marketing. So like, in digital, things are on 24/7. But even if you're not in digital and your main platform is LinkedIn, there's always things that you can be doing, and you can always be plugged in. There's apps on our phones. It's really easy to get worn out and lose focus. And it's just good to unplug.
So it's a true unplug, right? So that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. And so I wonder too, Kate, there's times I'm at the home office, there's times I'm down here. It's almost like I need that unplug from both environments. It's almost like I think about, okay, just to relieve the temptation, is either, just leave the house, leave the office, and then be somewhere else for that period of time. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, what does that have to do with influence? I think, for me, influence is really establishing trust. So I think it's like there's two parts in my definition of. One is it's kind of a character thing. It's like, do they trust you that you have their best interest and that you're ethical and things like that. But it also is, when you look at influences, it's an expertise thing of, and this person or company help me, and can they really help solve my problem? And I think that's where this preparation and self-care and reflection really takes place. Is if you can show up in a better, more authentic way, and you're energized and focused, you're going to provide more value. Thus, you'll have more influence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I love that. And I think business owners, particularly digital marketers, and the way that things are moving these days, or people that partake in digital marketing, also kind of get bogged down in getting their hands in all kinds of little buckets, like helping with everything, like we can help with all of it. So I also feel like an offsite reflection would be so important in the fact of focusing your own efforts. Like, what am I focused on? What am I really working towards? Because if you can authentically communicate your strengths, then you can better help your customers.
Exactly. I just think of, like, we're in an age of unlimited opportunity. I mean, the barrier in business, the barrier to entry into any field is probably lower than it's ever been. We have so many options, but there are some trade-offs with that. There are so many options, and there's so many strategies, and there's so many things that you can learn that it can be overwhelming or exhausting. So it's just the need to really filter that and building that into your life.
Yeah, I'm seeing a crossover too, where Miriam's agreeing with you here. It took her 2 years, but she's mastered the working from home piece. But Jimmy Z agrees with you here too. So, but it was funny as I walk into more and more of my corporate clients, and I see just a sea of empty desks, but all those people work there, but they're working remote. I think we're seeing this behavior shift even more than we did before, when telecommuting was a thing, because it used to be Fridays, everybody worked from home, that type of thing. And now all of a sudden, I think we're seeing this shift, and it seems like it's more being more commonplace. When I saw you having the business on the side, I feel like a lot of people are doing that. They call they have the side hustle for some people, and the side business, and so are you seeing this whole thing becoming a thing, like, even more?
I think so. You see more and more podcasts that are dedicated to side hustles. You're seeing actually really progressive corporate companies that are actually encouraging it. Like, a lot of times maybe your 9 to 5 isn't that interesting, or it's getting a little stale, but it's a good situation that pays the bills. But maybe there's something that you could do 5 or 10 hours a week that can really, you can do something that you're passionate about. It can radically change your life. Mm-hmm. And I think we're also in an age, I'm not an HR expert by any means, but the trend is to more contract work, and the average person is having more job changes and switches, and it kind of goes back to, there's a big need for personal branding. So in a way, I think even if you're in a company, or even a big company, you have to start to think like an entrepreneur and manage your personal brand. And a lot of those same, whether you have a business or your personal brand within a company, there's a lot of things that are similar.
Yeah, and that's, I'm sure you and I have had many discussions about this, but people making sure that their story is really, is always evolving, and making sure they keep that updated as part of their personal brand, each and every week, every month. It's almost like your quarterly, step away. It's also a time for you to reflect on who you are and who you're serving. And like Kate said, are you serving one audience, or are you trying to serve the whole world, and you're not really serving anybody or yourself?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So you said you work particularly, or I don't know if you said speakers, like people that want to have speaking engagements. Did I hear that correctly?
Marketers.
Yeah,
marketers
who are speakers and consultants. So they mainly speak or train, or they do kind of done for you agency work. So an example would be someone who is a specialist in Facebook ads, and they provide that for companies, or SEO or video marketing.
Very cool. So when they're trying to kind of raise their influence and get more of, get their word out more, what do you find the biggest thing that's holding them back? What's the biggest issue that they're having that they're coming to you for?
Yeah, so many of them, I think it has to do with content creation, and I think that's a struggle a lot of us, myself included, would fall into is, and here's what's unique. You know, it's hard to find the time. Like when you're doing work for other people, there's external deadlines when you have clients or customers that really jumps that priority list. And a lot of times, what gets left is that development of your own business, whether that's selling, marketing, content development. And what's ironic is a lot of digital marketers, they're the ones that are probably the most skilled at doing the digital, the actual marketing, but a lot of times that's like the first to go. So it's kind of the cobbler, his
shoes, right?
Shoes are that sort of thing. So I think that's one thing, and it's a 24/7 industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I work with, they work from home or a co-working space, and they have freedom to set their hours, but sometimes having all that freedom is not freedom at all if you're not intentional and you prioritize it. So a lot of when I first work with my clients, a lot of that is around getting a clear vision for what they want, and then building their day and their week to really reflect that. So it's actually creating some discipline and some structure that gives them the freedom that they really what they envisioned in the first place.
Yeah, a thing that I don't know, Kate, if this always drives you crazy about me, but I'm huge into time blocking, and I learned the time system management. Man, I want to say it was 20 years ago. And so, do you get into that with your clients about blocking not just business space but personal space? And
yeah, that's I'm a big believer in time blocking, which is dedicating a period of time to a particular activity or task. And then I'm a big fan of batching too. So let's say for your clients, you have to do your accounting, or you have to do some type of billing each month. Instead of doing a little here and a little there on multiple days a month, could you do it all in a 3-hour chunk on the third Friday of the month or the fourth Friday of the month, where you're in that space, you're not being interrupted, that you can be more efficient. So that's definitely something that I work on, and I think that applies to anyone, whether you have your own business or you're in a corporate job, is big. And a lot of times, if you run a big company or you're in a big company, you'd be like, well, I don't have ultimate control over where my time goes. And I think where you can start is controlling the first hour of your day. So I think most everyone has control of that. Can you set that morning routine up where I recommend having something that really fills your mind and your soul. First thing in the morning, you move and get your body energized, and then you fuel your body. Those are some things that habits that you can that really set the stage for the work that you do.
Yeah, I'm big about personal touch in terms of actually speaking to people. As Kate knows, this is something I love. I just think, it's like, just pick up the phone, talk to them. And I know it probably drives a lot of people crazy, but I work to try to talk to 4 people a morning, just have a conversation, because that human connection, it's one of the core human needs for us to connect. And I just feel like that feeds my energy. Can also get the cha-cha out of your head, if you wake up and there's a lot of drama or something going on, or you woke up to some weird emails, things like that, that's what I found for me helps, just talking to people.
That's good. I like that.
And it's not even related to the whatever, is going on, it's just more just talking. Mm-hmm. And then it takes my mind off of road rage too. Unlike those of you that work remote, I have to deal with an hour and 15-minute commute. So it's I got to talk to somebody, or someone's gonna get it. I'll be on the news. You don't have any tricks for that, right? Cures for road rage.
That's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah. What are some other tips besides time chunking? Because I think we got some feedback that a lot of people do that. What are some other tips for making sure that you can have your side hustle time for your side hustle time to create that content?
Yeah, I'm big on the term called the one thing. If you read the book by Gary Keller, which I highly recommend, he started Keller Williams Realty, great book, and he uses this like a time block called the one thing. So if you're working on your business, whether it's a side hustle or your own business, I recommend after you kind of have that morning routine, have at least an hour where you can work on activities that you'll work on your business, not just in it. So things that are really going to move your business forward. So if it's content creation, if that kind of falls to the wayside with everything else, maybe it's that. Or if it's setting up like redoing your website, or crafting an offer, or building a program. That's really the the one thing time. That could be depending on how much command of your time you have. That could be within between an hour and 4 hours. And what I do, this is just a little productivity tip. It's called the Pomodoro technique. And I know it's some of you may be familiar with it, some may not. But to boost your productivity during that time, let's say you have an hour, set a timer. It could be your phone or a egg timer for 25 minutes. Focus in on one task, and then when that timer goes off, take a 5-minute break. Get up from your desk, go for a walk, do something not on computer or anything like that, and then come back either to that same task or kind of the next step in that task. So that's been a big key to, especially if let's say you're in a side hustle situation, or your plate is really full, that you can remain focused. And then all distractions during that 25 minutes are everything's turned off that you don't need.
Yeah.
Wow. So then you just it's about creating some space, right, for your head to clear, your head to shift a little bit. And so, yeah, and I've had that. I really have to set those timers, because I literally will sit for 4 hours and just plow through it, and then, but I'm sure, but I hear you, man. Every time I do take a break, or I take a walk, or I take a lap around the building here, or whatever it is, it's all of a sudden I feel like, wow, it's like I'm seeing everything differently.
Exactly. And I think if we, whether you're in sales, you're in marketing, you're in leadership or management, you could probably look back on the last year, and there's probably a few activities that really contributed to like your best results. And sometimes that's unpredictable. You don't know when that's going to be. But if you can be in a state where you're energized and focused, those creative ideas or those creative connections are more likely to happen. So that's my encouragement to everyone, is to set aside those times and have a rhythm that really primes you to perform.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd say that's what I'm the worst at. I've said it before on this, but that's what I'm the worst at, is like getting away from my desk and walking around. We're kind of like in a WeWork space, so it's hard for me to walk anywhere. If I'm walking, I'm just walking by other people working, and then feeling guilty that I'm not working. I'm so bad at that.
Celebrating. You can go, I'm not working. You are.
Get out and get in the sunshine. I know for those of you who are in cold weather climates, sometimes in January that's difficult, but having that sunlight, this is from my days in training and health, but your eyes and your skin, when they see the sun, that energizes you, and it kind of resets your clock. So those are just little hacks that help out a lot.
Yeah.
Kate,
that's funny that you said that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, now that the strikers aren't in front of our building, what if we just walked? I've done this before, where I just walk out the front door and I'm like, wow, I'm in the Civic Opera House. I'm in Chicago. I feel like I pretend I'm a tourist, and I just like give myself a vacation. I'm like, oh, Chicago is such a cool architectural city.
Yeah, exactly. Be a tourist. That's funny that you said that, though, Chris, because Miriam just said that too, that it's good for your eye health to walk away. So you guys both brought up that point. That's probably why I'm so bad at it. I'm just staring at the computer.
Historically, now you're going to make a shift because of Chris, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to take these tips from Chris. I love it.
A couple questions coming in. So Mike asks, Chris, do you consume news in the morning before you get started for the day? When do you consume your news?
Yeah, I think this is, there's not a one-size-fits-all answer with a lot of habits. There's a lot of things that play into personality, but that's one of the things, whether it's social media or news, that can contribute to the noise and really change your mindset and distract you. So I would say, I recommend, like people have their morning routine and their one thing time, and they're not checking email or looking at news, or watching news or getting on social, preferably until after that's done. Especially if you're like me, I'm easily distracted, or I should say I'm easily attracted to a lot of things.
I like that. That's a marketing spin. I like that.
That's awesome. We're gonna borrow it.
I don't have a problem. I'm just attracted to a lot of things. I just think those are little ways that you can focus in, and that's not the norm. A lot of times in a corporate culture, the first thing you do is, it's a habit to look at your phone, or go into the office and look at email. And I think we've all experienced that. You're down a rabbit hole, you're putting out fires, then the whole morning's gone, and your mood is, a lot of times, your energy is sucked, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So
I feel like you're talking right to me right now.
Well, I'm sure to a lot of us, right? So I mean, but I appreciate you throwing yourself on the sword there, Kate. So.
I am. No, you already know. I get locked into my to-do list. It's so hard to break away. I think that's really interesting about the people that you're working with, because most of them are probably kind of in this side hustle, and working, these dreams outside of their 9 to 5. So how do you keep your work-life balance? Because their schedules are probably a little all over the place. So how do you help them with their dream, and then also, do yours?
Yeah, and I should say here, I won't sit back and say it is, it's so easy. You just do the A, B, and C. I think with everyone, it's a challenge. You have competing priorities in a lot of ways. One thing that I found, if you have control of a lot of your schedule, or most of your schedule, is to theme your days. So for me, I do coaching, so I'm on, video conferencing, and I set, specific days in parts of the day each week. So let's say I'll do Monday afternoons and Thursday mornings and Tuesday mornings for my coaching. So I block those off, and I try to fill those time slots. And then let's say content creation is on Wednesday afternoons. It's really like picking almost. Some people go extreme, and they're like, Mondays I'm gonna work with my team. Tuesdays I'm going to do my work. Wednesdays are going to be all my meetings, and Thursdays is going to be finances. But what I found for most people is to have half days. And especially if you're in sales, or you meet with people, you go to coffee shops and offices to meet with people, it can be helpful. Like, you get dressed up, you go, you're going to be on the road, to get as many meetings as you can in that like half day, is much more efficient than a meeting here and a meeting there, ideally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting for sure. Miriam brought up a good point too, and this is, I think, new for our lifetime, or period of lifetime, I guess. She was saying, like you said, 5 minutes an hour or whatever. She said 10 minutes every 2 hours, but she said just for eye health too. And I've been noticing that with my eyes drying out. I wear contacts. And Jackson, we had a guest on a few weeks ago that talked about the glasses, the computer glasses. Who was it? That was Kate, you remember who that was?
Oh, Jessica Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
She was also, we met her at SMS.
Oh, that's right. And so anyway, they've got these new glasses, and of course Jackson had to get 3 pairs, but he's a proponent of these. And so what do you think about that whole eye health thing too? Because that affects you. I mean, your eyes are everything, right?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of background in that, but I think we could probably all agree, like if we're staring at screens all day, not just our laptop or computer screen, but we're walking around, in line at the grocery store looking at
right.
That's probably not good, for our overall health. So there's definitely ergonomic things that you can do, but I think those breaks, you probably experience when you go through like a 4 to 6 hour stretch where you're just cranking away, then what it does to your eyes. So if you build in those breaks for other things, I think that probably helps with that.
Going back to Mike's question about when you prefer to check out the news, I'm just wondering, how do you prefer to get your news? Because in the digital marketing world, like you said, we're on our phone, we're on our computer. It's very easy to check. Jackson likes Twitter. He talks about that a lot, how he gets all his news from Twitter. But what about you? Do you like podcasts? Do you actually watch the news? What do you do?
Yeah, I actually I used to be a big read the paper person. I know that some people on this broadcast might not even know what that is, but
and I used to you, Jen. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's stuff made like this.
yeah. I also grew up, watching the news, and I actually I probably really enjoy that. But especially as I, got into young kid land and, a lot of other, responsibilities, I had to make some decisions about that. I really enjoy podcasts because actually in the mornings when I work out, I listen to podcasts. So it's like 2 habits at a time. And it really stimulates a lot of ideas. On my workout log, I have a notebook so that I can write notes, because I'll have like a good idea in the middle of it to write those down. So that's the way I like to learn, like from a personal development side of things. As far as news, I'm a big LinkedIn user, so that's where I see a lot of news. I'll go to the actual the media channels app, and I actually treat that as a reward. So instead of I'm not going to look at the news and torture myself, in the sake of productivity. What you can do is, let's say I'm going to have a really productive morning. I'm going to accomplish these things. And then over lunch, that can be that's like your reward for staying on task. So I've heard of people who have done that with social media as well.
Oh, don't get me started on food rewards. That's a whole different podcast. Jimmy Z said he just downloaded the Pomodoro app to work that technique. Thanks, Chris.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome.
I didn't even know they had an app, so that's interesting.
I believe they have something for your your laptop where you might be able to shut off other distractions during that time. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm a little old school with the egg timer.
Oh my gosh, that might work the opposite for me. I'm like right in the middle of that proposal deadline, and it's like, hey, time for a nap. And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't even think I own a timer. I think I do everything on my phone now.
I use my phone as well.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, do I need to go buy one? Do I need to have a real timer for this?
Yeah, actually, I was looking. I'm going to ask for a shout out for help here. I'm looking for egg timers that are 20-minute increments because, Chris, I've always had the 20 minutes a day. And I thought it'd be cool for Social Jack timers to be on people's desks, to flip those egg timers. So I'd love to know if anybody had. Plus, I just love sand timers. I don't know what it is. To me, it's like that's my soothing part. So I was thinking about you. Is I couldn't sleep the other night. So not because I was thinking about you, but just because I was, it's turning the motors off. Right. And so naturally I went to podcasts and I, like you, I'm just like, I love learning off a podcast, but if I get too interested in something, I don't sleep because now I'm interested in the podcast. And I go to these sleep podcasts, and it's funny because I thought this one was going to be music, and it was some guy that was just really boring to listen to, and I was getting angry listening to him, so then I couldn't go to sleep. So for those of us that have trouble unwinding at the end of the busy day, do you have any tips or tricks around that?
Yeah, this is what I do personally and use with my clients as well. After we kind of master the morning routine, it's kind of the morning primer. The evening routine is also big. So what I do is you want to have a trigger that kind of signals that you're going to start your nighttime routine. So a really great way is just to set an alarm on your phone. Let's say, for me, let's say it's 9 o'clock that's going to start. So I'll have that timer go off Sunday through Thursday at 9 o'clock. And that reminds me to start my routine. So kind of whatever I'm doing, I really, end that and move into routine. And what you can do is, there's probably personal hygiene things that you do, but
hopefully.
Hopefully. One of the things is you want to set your environment. So that can be temperature. Everyone's a little bit different, but typically research says that if you're around 65 degrees, maybe 65 to 68, somewhere, from how variable people are, and you have that set you have like a setting on your thermostat, or you bring it down to that. That's a key part. Another thing is light. So if you have like the darkening shades, if light really affects you, is a great way to pull your shades and you create a dark environment. And then you do something that's really relaxing. It could be reading a book, something that you're not looking at a screen. I know that the iPhone has the whole night setting, which probably helps, but you want to get off the screen for that blue light effect. And whether that's listening to something that is soothing or reading, is a routine that I know works for me, and others have adopted as well. But I tend not to recommend like personal development, because I'm like you. I'll listen to like a podcast or something, and I'll have like 50 ideas, and like I'm not going to sleep for like 4 hours.
Then you're revved up.
Yeah.
Kate, you said you have no problems going to sleep, right?
I'm so tired at the end of the day. Yeah,
That's a
I'm
blessing,
super tired.
man. I don't know.
But that's one thing I've always been really good at, is being in a routine. I wake up and take my dog for a walk. And then that was another thing I was just wondering if you ever gave that tip, but that was one thing I did when I got a 9-to-5 job. I got a dog. And I don't always recommend it, because dogs are a lot of responsibility, but it really helped me get into a routine. I was bartending before that, and so that helped me wake up at the same time every day and go to bed at the same time every day, because he needed to be on a routine. So that probably doesn't work for everyone, but it worked for me.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
So as we get into this, I can't believe it's almost over, Chris. Jeez Louise, we got to have you on again. Oh man, it's like we didn't even talk about content marketing, did we? It's like so cool. I got into this whole life and balance thing. I told you, is like I'm gonna use this for me, Kate. I'm being selfish.
But do you also have that Life Balance LinkedIn group? Is that still going? Because I know you invited me to that a few months ago.
Yeah. So I have a LinkedIn group. It's called Work-Life Balance for Digital Marketers. So if you're in that camp of being a digital marketer, that's just a way that we can share resources, struggles around this. And again, what does it have to do with influence, or what does it have to do with whatever your trade is? If you show up in you have better energy, you have better attention, and you're focused on the right things, you're going to show up and have more influence.
Yeah, I love it. We'll send the link out to that in the follow-up email, because we've gotten involved with a lot of group marketing recently, and like getting in groups and building communities. And I think that's a really important place for people to be able to share their tips also.
Yeah, for sure. And then you mentioned a few names along the way here, and you've got a stack of books behind you. So who would be like your go-to top 3 or 4 resources that you just stay tuned into that you really think are helpful?
Yeah, no, it's great. For a lot of the life balance and focus, Greg McKeown, his book Essentialism, and he's on several podcasts. If you search his name on like iTunes or Stitcher or things like that, he's someone that I think his essentialism framework and message is just really, really powerful. For websites and content creation, I actually have it right here, Andy Crestodina's book, Handbook for Content Marketing, Content Chemistry. He is, I think, a really great thought leader when it comes to content and conversion, with regardless of your business, really, is something to, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. From a faith perspective, I'm a big fan of the Bethel TV app.
Yeah.
Bill Johnson. It's a church in Redding, California. So if you're of the Christian faith, that's a staple that I listen to. From digital marketing and online business, probably the only podcast that I've had on all of my phones, for I don't know how many years, is the Smart Passive Income podcast by Pat Flynn. It's just always super quality and touches on a lot of aspects of online business and marketing, and does a lot of great interviews with thought leaders. And that's a lot of times where I identify different thought leaders to learn from his podcast. So those are those are some that come to mind.
And of course, you always track the Influence Factory, right?
Oh yeah, outside of Influence Factory.
I know for sure. And then any top 1 or 2 or 3 favorite tools that you use, business tools that come to mind?
Yes. I use Toggle, and it's a time tracking software. There's a free version that I use. And you can actually you track your time for different activities. So it can be personal activities. It can be like sales calls, content creation, social media. And it's something that it's kind of like when you write down your food.
Right.
Just the act of that, just that awareness. And then you can pull reports on where your week went. Sometimes it's good to get things on paper and off of, like, a lot of times emotion takes over of, like, I'm working, so many hours, or, sometimes you don't realize, like, why is my content not taking off? And then you look back and you're like, I spent 2 minutes on it this week. So those are that's a great tool to kind of give reality. Also, if you have clients, you can track the amount of time you work with those clients. And I've had clients specifically like in like Facebook advertising, where they, at the end of the year, they have 12 clients, and one of them was taking up 30% of their time, but it wasn't necessarily paying 30% of their income. So it allows you to assess, maybe there's some client relationships that are kind of sucking your energy and your time. And
Kate's like making a list right now.
Yeah, so it's just a great way to assess not only yourself, but the work that you do for others. Or maybe you're in meetings, if you're in a corporate setting, and you find you're in meetings like 30 hours a week, and you're just like, why am I not able to get anything done? They can be tools that you could actually maybe even work with your manager of, like, like, I want to get this result for you and the company, but this is getting in the way. I've been tracking this, and you can have some data to propose some changes.
Yeah, right on. Super cool. Well, that's we're coming right up on time here. So real quick, as Jackson finds our 2 Starbucks Engagers winner gift cards here. Who wants to win today? You guys should get in a couple last minute. I do in there. But one thing we do like to do is have you type in the one takeaway. So hearing Chris talk today, or maybe even from our news today, 60-second lesson, just think about something that you're going to do differently than what you have been. So a shift you're going to make, something different than what you have been doing. So type that in right now, just so we can get a sense to make sure that you're committed to your own building your influence and a better you out there in the world. Also, with that, I've got a final polling question here for everybody. I want to grow my influence, and then check in any of the things that really make sense to you on there. And then, Chris, you're never going to guess who we have next week. Can you guess who our guest is? You know her really well, but because of me, you know her really well.
Who is that?
It's Brianna Jacobs.
Yes.
What a wonderful person, huh? She puts together the best social media conferences up there in terms of really taking just the experience. I mean, they're intimate, they're under 300 people, they're perfect size. I mean, what's your take on Social Media Strategy Summit?
Yeah, I went to my first social media strategy summit in Chicago this last spring, and you're exactly right. I've been to conferences, where there's 3,000 or 5,000 people, and sometimes you can feel just like you're just a number, or it's there's all these people, but it's hard to make connection. I really love the format where you're not just walking by someone and saying hi to them once. You can see that you identify them later on in the conference, and yeah, a great learning environment. They bring in top-notch speakers, and also just the attendees that you can network with as well. So
you're sitting like right next to somebody from Google or Disney or whatever, and you're like, hey, what are you guys doing? It's like you can just get great ideas. It's like amazing stuff. So,
and the speakers network so well at SMSS, and they sit in on each other's summits or like speeches. I mean, that's what I found the most interesting about it, is that you're sitting in a lecture and you're sitting next to Andy Christadena because he wanted to watch too. It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool stuff. So a lot of people are typing in. They're going to start leaving an hour in the morning for an activity that stimulates them. Yeah, re-up their focus tracking with Toggle app and Pomodoro app. Jimmy Z, you're the app king, man. If I ever see your phone, it's probably like 20 pages of apps, but you know how to manage those apps, man. So with that being said, Jackson, who's our 2 engagement winners today?
Our 2 engagement winners are Mike O'Neill and Miriam Rose Khan.
So you guys, now remember, here is your commitment. So as you get your Starbucks gift card, you have to actually share and teach whatever you learned today that really resonated with you, that you're putting into practice. Teach that to somebody that you care about. Take them for a cup of coffee and share that with them. We want to empower you. We are deputizing you, and we do that each and every week to make sure that you take what you learned today and really take that to the next level. And Chris, on your website, real quick, I know you have a cool giveaway, and this is freedombusinessfamily.com, and there is the email freedom blueprint. So you can free up an extra 8 hours a week. So please make sure you go to freedombusinessfamily.com. We'll send that link out to you and really take it to that next level. And then where's the best place on social to catch you?
Yeah, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you search Chris Rudolph, I'd love to interact with you and connect with you there. And I just, the whole idea behind LinkedIn, where you're activating, you're an influencer and you're helping other influencers. And I'm a big fan of the platform. And it's been huge for both, my business and life.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we really appreciate you being part of the family here, Chris, and really helping us really take a perspective on being healthier as for ourselves and our personal brand, and using that to actually be better influencers in the world. So thank you so much for being part of the program today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Dean, Kate, and Jackson. It's been a blast and honored to have the opportunity to speak to your community.
Great. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners out there. We wouldn't be here without you. And Kate, why don't you send them off?
All right. Make sure you're following us on social, and you can follow today's episode at #Influence Factory. And thanks again to Chris, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See you online, folks. Take care.
Bye.